Hey everybody, it's Natalie with Treasures of Mini, and this is the art journal page that I'm going to be making today. And there was only one little problem with it. I did not notice that my camera was not recording for the first little bit of it. I had gotten this far and I realized it wasn't recording. So I was going to tell you really quick, all I did here was prep my pages in my book with some gesso, and then I used some distress crayons to lay down that color in the background. And then I have these two pads of paper that came from that little Target, like dollar spot in the front of Target. And this is where I got all of these cut up pieces of paper. And I just went through and grabbed a few that I really, really loved. And I cut them in different shapes and glued them down with some matte medium. And now I'm going to start adding some color. So that was Distress Paint Candied Apple. And I'm just going to lay some down with my brayer. And if you'll notice, then I went into some fossilized amber and I didn't clean it. I'm just continuing to pick it up because then, it'll also help me get kind of an orange color. But in between this and the tarnished brass, I did clean it because I was afraid it would make like a really muddy color. Now on here, I'm only showing you how I did one side of the page. I did the exact same thing on the other side, but the way my camera is set up, I just couldn't get both of them in the picture. And with what is left on my mat here, there was some of that bronze and white gesso left. I just added a bunch of water to it and took my fan brush and used what was left just to make some splatters on my page. So you can see I did this to the one side, and I'm going to show you how I did it on the other. But if you'll see those little bubbled up spots, that's from using my heat tool in one spot too long. And I did that on purpose because I like it to give it that extra texture. And how I got those colors is I used the same distress crayons that I used in the beginning that I was telling you about. And this one happens to be chipped sapphire. And I'm just laying some down and then rubbing it with my finger. These are really creamy and they're really easy to use. I really like them. And I think the next color I picked up is Festive Berries. I think that all of these came from the pack that's like they're numbered, they're 1, 2, and so on. This is from the number 2 pack. And then I'm going to grab Rusty Hinge. And then I think after that, I pick up Fossilized Amber. And I'm just laying this down where I feel like it needs to be. I mean, I don't really have anything specific in my mind. I just know that the pattern papers that I had picked out, I really, really liked. And I'm trying to stay along that color scheme, even though I end up really covering those up, which kind of made me sad. I'm new to this mixed media, and it's kind of hard for me to wrap my mind around picking out all this pretty stuff, putting it on a piece of paper, and then covering it up. But I'm getting there. But I do find a way later on in the page to bring back the pretty papers that I really enjoyed. So when I get this to where I think I like it and it matches the other side pretty well, I am going to take some of this Distress Glaze. Because I was unsure of how reactive the Distress crayons would be to gesso, I am with my finger taking some of this glaze, and it makes it water resistant. It's really cool. It doesn't take much, but after you lay it down, you do need to take like a napkin or something, and you're just kind of buffing it. I'm not rubbing hard here. I'm just lightly buffing it in. And it is kind of shiny at first, but that shininess does go away. So then with some gesso and a very wet brush, you can see it's almost like a whitewash I'm doing. I wanted to tone that down, but I still wanted you to be able to see the colors from behind. I do have to wet my brush again every so often when it starts getting kind of too thick or not as translucent. But you're basically doing a whitewash with gesso, and I did that to both sides. Now, I went through my craft room, and I just started coming up with anything that I could find that was fall or or with these colors. And I had these buttons from several years back. And then I also have these little frames that I think someone gave to me. I do not even know where they came from. However, the frame is too thick for a journal, for an art journal, I think. It was going to make it too bulky. So what I did is I just took my craft knife and I just peeled up that top piece. And you can see once you get it started, it comes up very easy. So then I was able to have the colorfulness of the frame, but not the thickness. And with my Tim Holtz scissors here that cut through anything without harming them, I did cut the backs of the buttons off so that they could lay flat on my journal page. And I've gone through and I did that to all the frames and all the buttons that I have laid out here. I'm not gluing anything down yet though. I'm just laying things out. And then I had some random fall colored leaves that I went through, and I'm doing the same thing here. I'm just going to bring those leaves around and just tuck them places and see what I like. And this is when I decided this was my opportunity to bring in those pattern papers that I really loved that I had covered up. I decided those little frames needed backing. So that's what I did. I went around and I glued some of those pieces to the back of all of my frames and then laid my leaves out the way that I wanted them to be. And again, there's nothing glued down, but I do have everything laid out. And I'm going to now glue everything down with matte medium. Now, for those corn stalks, I just got a green piece of cardstock and I Googled a drawing of a corn stalk and I just replicated it the best that I could and put one on each side. And now you can see that I have everything glued down. I'm taking that matte medium and I am covering everything. I'm putting it over everything on both sides. And then with my hot glue gun, I am going to glue down my buttons into the centers of the frames. Now again, on those corn stalks, it was very random. They may not even look that great now, but you'll see later when we start adding our shading and all that, you do not have to be an artist to do it. It'll come together on its own, I promise. It was not hard at all for me to do. I drew one and then traced the other one onto another piece and cut it out. So it wasn't difficult. Once I have all of my little buttons glued down, I realized that my frames were really dull. And that was because the matte medium had gone over it. And I decided that I didn't want it on the frames. I wanted those to still be shiny. So I took once I figured it out, I took my craft knife here and I lightly scored the inside and the outside of all the frames. And that's so that as I'm pilling up the matte medium, it doesn't continue to pill up onto my actual journal page. And when I've done that, I can just kind of roll my finger and maybe scratch it a little bit with my fingernail and it all comes up. And then I have the shininess of my frames back. So I did that with all 4 of the little frames. And then I took some archival coffee ink and this script stamp that I had. And just to give it some little extra texture and just some more interest, I'm just randomly going throughout the page and just stamping some of this script. I do not remember who the stamp is by. I really do think it was one of those cheap off-brand ones that you can get at like Studio G, I think, or something. And then I'm going to come in with some stenciling. And so I picked out some stencils that I thought would kind of go along with this. And then I think it's by Faber-Castell and it's called Whip Spackle. And I'm going through my page and I'm just kind of adding it where I think it'll look good. Right here, you're going to see I scraped some up because I got to thinking that maybe that would make it too thick in the spine of my book and make it even more bulky. So that's the only reason why I scraped some of that up right there. And I'm just doing this sporadically. Like, really, guys, I think you guys know I have always done cards. I have only just now started art journaling. This may be like my 4th or 5th art journal page ever. So I barely know what I'm doing. And so that's just to tell you, there's really no rhyme or reason to a lot of this, I promise. But it comes out gorgeous in the end. So that shows you how easy it can be. Now, these arrows were some paper stamps that my best friend had given me. I think she said she got them at Target. They came, it's like a little free sample and something. They were kind of a pain to use because it is paper, but I just fiddled with it and made it work because I thought it looked really cool. And then I'm taking some script stencil as well and adding a little bit of that in a few places too. And then I also want to add, in between all of these steps, I have been letting everything dry. It's really important for everything to get nice and dry. So I'm going to do just a little bit more up here on the top, and then we're going to start shading. So you can see here, this side, I have done all the shading and the coloring, and you can see how pretty it is. But I'm going to let you watch me do the other side so you can see how I did it. Now I am using these Faber-Castell artist pens. I know most people, I got this technique from Vicky and a few other people on YouTube, and they use the big brush ones. I don't have those. These are the ones I had, and as far as I know, it's the exact same ink. It's just a different size marker. But because we put that matte medium all over everything, it makes our surface non-porous. So that means you can see here, I lay down some color and then I rub it with my finger. It lets me smudge it before it dries. And once it dries, it is permanent. So I can go over it as many times as I want, and I don't have to worry about moving anything around once it's dry. But I can do a lot of cool shading before it's dry. So I'm going to do that to the entire page. And I'm just going to kind of let you watch me do that. And I guess while I am doing this, I will let you know that I am sorry. I know I was supposed to have this video a week ago, and I usually put out 2 videos a week. I got really sick last week, and my mother-in-law came down to kind of help with things. And you guys know we've been moving and my surgery and everything, so it's just been kind of difficult, making roots somewhere else in a whole new place, even though with the military we do this every 4 years, so I should be used to it. But this year is pretty hard because of the surgery and things, and I've not been in cold weather in 5 years, and we just got some cold weather here in North Carolina, and I guess it just did me in, and my lungs just couldn't really deal with it, and I got pretty sick. I do have a lung disease, so that's why I've always hesitated doing a YouTube channel, because I know that I can't commit to you guys, and I feel really bad about that. But sometimes, with the autoimmune disease in the lungs, sometimes life just doesn't work the way I want it to go. So if it's ever been a little while since you've heard from me, please don't give up on me. It shouldn't be more than a couple of weeks, and it's only because I'm dealing with something like that. When I promised this video, I had also promised that I wanted to do a giveaway of a MISTI when I had reached 1,000 subscribers, and unfortunately that had happened while we were in the middle of moving. And then when our stuff got here, I had to find it before I could do a giveaway with it. And I finally did do that. So I am going to do a giveaway. And all of the details for that is going to be on my Facebook page, which is called Treasures of Minnie Craft Corner. I do not have the details for that up yet, but they will be up by tomorrow morning. I have to finish writing out everything, and I'll just be honest, I'm a terrible speller, so I always get my husband to check everything. And I'm still trying to figure out the details on how to choose a winner, because I do want it to be random, and I've never done one of these before, so I don't really know if there's like an app that people use to just do an automatic random choice or not. But I'm going to get all of that figured out tonight, and by tomorrow morning, the instructions on how to win yourself a full-size MISTI will be on my Facebook page. So make sure you visit that. Now, I was talking during that whole thing. So you can see now I'm going around everything with a brown, and I'm giving everything some shading. So I'm going to do that all over. And you can just see how much fun. This really is a lot of fun, because you just get outstanding results, and you don't have to have a lot of creative talent to do it. I hate to say that, but because I really don't know what I'm doing with this art journaling. But look how amazing it is. I mean, if I saw that, I would be like, I'd be willing to buy it. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying I would. And I really surprised myself with how pretty this turned out. With that being said, I have watched hours and hours and hours of YouTube videos by all kinds of wonderful art journaling artists out there on YouTube that just do amazing jobs. So I did have some inspiration and some direction. But anyway, I'm coming close to being done with all of the shading, and you could keep doing this for hours. Honestly, there's so much going on my page that it was like every time I thought I was done, I would think, oh, I need to add a little more here, a little more there. But this is very relaxing, and I will say the whole art journaling process has been very therapeutic for me. I've done several pages since this, and yeah. This is some Lumiere paint. It's called Bright Gold, and I put a little bit down with my paintbrush, and then I'm just taking my finger and kind of smearing it, except for when I paint like these arrows. I didn't smear that. I just painted that in. Excuse me. Excuse me. Y'all can kind of hear my my lungs. They're not doing that wonderful right now. I did have to do some lung function tests the other day at the hospital, and it didn't come back too wonderful, but you know, it'll all be okay in the end, I guess. But I am really getting carried away with this gold too, because it's just so pretty. It's so easy to put on. And the other cool thing is when you put that matte medium down on it and you make it a non-porous surface, anything you don't like, all you have to do is take a baby wipe and wipe it off. So here's what we have. And the last two things, well, no, not the last two things. So now I took this stamp set, and in that Memento ink, I stamped out the word fall. I really only chose that ink color because it matched really closely to the color of my cardstock. And then this says fall is here, but I only needed the is here. That was from a Lawn Fawn stamp set. When I got that done, I cut all of the letters out, and I used some matte medium to glue them on my page. And then I also went around some of that fall with that gold paint. And the last two steps that I do is with a white gel pen and a black pen. I'm going around my lettering, and I'm just going to go crazy with this white gel pen and just put all kinds of highlights and just to add interest. And if you're not careful with this, you can really get carried away too, because this whole process is very, very relaxing and therapeutic. I'm telling you, when I make cards, I really have to think about everything that I'm doing and composition, but this is my art journal, and I can just be free, and I'm really enjoying it. And if you have not done any art journaling yet, I highly, highly recommend it. I really do. It's been amazing for me, and quite addictive. So I do warn you, it's quite addictive. I get very little done when I'm art journaling. Yeah, anyway, so I'm going to continue to add some highlights on just about everything on both pages. And then when I'm done with that, I take a black pen, and I do not remember, let me see, I think I have it right here next to me. It is a Sanford Uniball Onyx Fine black pen. You'll see me grab it here in a minute. And I outline every single element on this page with that black pen. I go around the corn stalks, the leaves, the lettering, the frames. I go around all of it, and I even go around the burlap pieces that I have on the background as well. And this is what the end product looks like. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I hope that it made sense. Again, I'm used to doing card videos, not art journaling videos. These are much longer and a lot, to me, they're more difficult to do. So over time, I should get better. Until next time, hugs and loves from my craft room to yours. And remember, go visit my Facebook page at Treasures of Minnie Craft Corner. Bye.